Hey guys, so we're wrapping up the two projects that we're doing in Linguistics 490. If you vaguely recall from the beginning, this has been a two project class, which is they've appeared in every single lab. So one of them is the data set, the aka the non-human language project, where we all have aliens and mythical creatures or just, fillers of some sort. Um, and so you have some stats you've done with them every single time. A little bit of interpretation has gone along with it. But at this point, you need to turn in, if you haven't already, and many of you have, because this is pretty straightforward, this non-human language summary. The other piece is going to be the final report, which has to do with the replication extension project we've been working on too. It's been a little bit more of our elbow grease to do that piece, and I'll talk about that second. So let's briefly look at the non-human language summary, which is what you're seeing in front of you right here. This is the final, essentially, homework, as it were, related to the stats piece that we've been doing all semester. It, I think, is technically due this week, but due dates are suggestions at this point. Um, so what you need to do, a lot of these things are sort of copying out of previous labs, which is sort of a theme that you're going to see in this video because the final report has some of that too. But it asks you what were the groups of non-human language users that you studied. So mine, remember, were Wookiees, and I think it was curly hair and something hair Wookiees, types of Wookiees, and what language they use, and I think might have been Wookiee or something, whatever you called it. What were the locations where data was gathered? I had some unpronounceable tree names of Wookiees, right? And then my data in number 3 here, you did this on lab 1, or I think maybe 2, but I think it's 1, where you do the averages for your data, just so that you can see it at a glance. And then I ask you in number 4 here, were there any strong relationships or significant results in your data, and what were they? And to my knowledge, everybody had something significant either in lab 4 or lab 5. If you were one of the people that followed my original instructions in lab 4 and didn't get a result, but I gave you a comment saying that there was something significant, I would like you to report it in that way here. However, if you report it, if you just go ahead with what you found not significant in lab 4 because of my instructions, I'm not going to ping you for that. But I would love for everyone to say something here, right? But you should have had something significant. If you're not sure, reach out to me. I'm happy to look at it and tell you what should have been there. About half of you have ANOVAs and half of you have t-tests, I think. And then finally, question 5 is copy paste plus like an extra sentence or so. You're going to copy the abstract from the Mad Lib we did way at the beginning of the semester, the abstract of what happened in your study. And you're going to add the last piece, right? You're studying the role of head crashing or bobsled eating or who knows what. And you're saying, well, there was a difference for bobsled eating by location or whatever it was in yours. So basically take what you have in 4, turn it into a little sentence at the end of the abstract and post it. Just kind of paste it there. This was something I really thought would be fun to do in class together, but realistically, our class is too large to do a lot of stuff on Zoom. It loses kind of the collegial atmosphere in the sense that I like to hold class. So it doesn't really make sense to do it together. Feel free to email them to each other. I think they're going to be fun. A couple of them have already been turned in, and I think they're fun. So this is all you have to do for the summary. The other thing that we're going to talk about, like this, involves some percentage of just moving information from previous labs into a new document, and that is for the final report. And I have to format this slightly, but what you're seeing in front of you is pretty close to what you'll eventually be asked to do. So in this class, the other thing I really wanted to do at the end of this is the replication extension project. I really wanted us to have actual presentations and sit around and tell each other what you did because you've been doing interesting stuff all semester. And it's heartbreaking for me that that's not a reasonable thing for us to do. And you can sit around and think about ways to make that happen, like break people into groups or make videos and share and comment, and just a lot of logistics in there that I don't feel like I don't feel like the tax is worth the gain. However, if one of you wants to, if any of you, I should say, wants to present, reach out to me. We'll try to coordinate something. Maybe 3 of you want to do it or something. Or if you want to put it in video form and send it to me, as long as you answer these questions as part of that and have like presentation slides that go with it and such, that's cool. I would love that too. Which I guess is me saying that if you wanted to do this in presentation form, you can. Um, we'll talk about the questions in just a second. But my expectation is most of you will just type it up in a document because it's a percentage of this is just copy paste from previous stuff. Not all of it, but the first sections surely to kind of give it some context. Because by this point, when you're presenting your findings, you have to talk about what's your motivation. In this case, what are you replicating? What did you do? Which is methods, which we've been talking about. And then the new stuff is sort of what did you find, which is going to be the results that you should have from one person or two people or a handful of people. Excuse me, for this you only have to do one person. I'm happy to see more, but you only need to do one on both tasks. Can be the same person, but you need to do both, okay? And so reporting the results and kind of comparing them to, your research question or what happened in the previous study or whatever, that's new, right? But a lot of this you'll see are similar. Okay, so let's take a look at the sections in this final report. And as I said, you can do it as a presentation if you want, either directly to me or as a video or something. But you can also literally just type it up as if it were just a slightly lengthier lab report. I'm totally fine with that. That's my expectation for most of you, but don't feel obligated to do it that way either. So, background motivation. Here, you're seeing I'm asking you, what did you replicate? What forms did they study and why? It's because there are 17 of you, and I don't remember in every moment of the day who did what. But if you remind me in a couple sentences, I'll go, that's right, of course. On the other reason for this is that when you're giving a presentation or a report of some kind, I need some background. That's literally just good practices. The tasks, again, what tasks did you replicate? What did you do for the extension and why? And what research question did you ask? Notice I'm asking for a little bit more here on the expansion because this is your stuff. It's the newer stuff, okay? I recall that some of them it was because it was the only thing logistically feasible, but try to say that in a nice way, right? But the research question, I know you all did because I read them all. And the methods, again, so far, all the things that are here are things that came out of previous labs, right? Methods is about 2/3, well, basically lab 4/5, mostly 5. But 4/5 is what we're seeing here, and the methods describe each task, including the item types and categories, because when I get to the data, I need to know what I'm looking for, right? That's the purpose of this section. And then what you'll add here that hasn't been said before, we've talked about ideal participants and such. When you test that one person or a couple of people or whatever, tell me about them, right? Like, let's imagine you magically managed to find an L2 for a semi-L2 project. Please tell me about it. I would love to know. But if you got a monolingual, that's cool. How old are they? What gender does this person identify? I don't know. Something. Tell me about your participant or participants. Yeah? New. But not like hard new. Because this stuff matters. This is me trying to get you to do something that looks like real research. Does that make sense? But at like the undergrad level. Here, results. Okay, this I would say results and discussion. These are the new things. And I'd say they're really important. Okay? If you kind of mishmash through the first parts, I'm not as concerned, but I do want this stuff to make sense. The results and discussion. Show me that you understand what happened, please. So, did the participant behave similarly on the replication task to what happened in the original article? Some of you were doing it in a different language or on slightly different items, but as far as you can tell, based on the data that you gather and have turned into me at this point, not this point, but time you do the report, that point. Sorry, by that point. Did they behave similarly to what happened in the original article? So you're replicating. Did you replicate the results or did you find something different? Right? That's your first question. And then for the expansion task, you're supposed to have at least 2 types of items as we discussed in the experimenter facing materials. So did they behave differently on the 2 item types? They behave exactly the same. Are we finding effects? And to some of you, there's a relationship between the replication expansion, like one's written, one's oral, or something like that. This would be a time too to bring that up. The question doesn't specifically ask that, but I mean, it's important, right? The expansion task can be modality comparisons between the replication and expansion, again, written, oral, whatever. And so here is a time to tell me, did it work out, basically, right? Did it change or did it not change? And then the discussion question, if you remember, I said, what was your research question for the expansion? And return to it. Answer it. If you said, is there a difference by modality? Say, is there? And it might seem a little repetitive with the results, but guess what? That's how articles work. There's literally reporting the results, and then there's interpretation of the results. There's looking at it and telling me what it means. That's the discussion. So answer your question. And then, did you get the result you expected? Why or why not? So literally answer the question, yes, no, kind of, sort of, and then tell me why. Show me that you've thought a little bit either about, well, I did the design differently because of this reason, so maybe that's why it's different. Or it didn't go out the way I expected because the participants aren't quite what I preferred. Or it's unclear because this is intended for L2, but all I have is monolingual control data so far. I mean, whatever it is. So depending on what your project is, this can go a lot of ways, but I need you to show me that you understand what you did. Okay? Yeah? So, as I said, this can be written like a long lab. If you want to write it as if it's an article, cool. I don't know if anyone wants to do that, you can. You can do it as a presentation, but you need to have slides that answer these questions and then present them to me, either via video or via Zoom. Or you, like I said, or you can write it like a long lab. These subsections, copy, paste, fill out, add stuff, whatever. Okay, it just needs to be legible, and I need to have it by the end of finals week. Okay, you can turn it in as soon as it's done. You don't have to wait. If you're ready somehow in the next week, kudos. Just turn it in and be done. Or you have until the end of finals week. Okay, this is ultimately worth 20 points out of the 100-point class. So I mean, if you're one of the people doing it for pass-fail, you probably still need to do part of it. And some of it's copy-paste, so I mean, honestly. But it will make a difference in everyone's grade. I think at this point, the things that are, I think we're set up in such a way that I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. But perhaps that's, some of you may I might be saying that and you're going, what? Because maybe you still need to talk to me about how to go through that experiment. So there's a couple of you either haven't finished materials or haven't talked to me. Maybe you need to. Feel free to do that. That's what I'm here for. In many cases, I've sat down with people and we've generated items together because that's what we need to do. This is what I'm here for. Okay? All right. Send me any questions. When I finish formatting all of this, it will go up. The finalized version will go up on Blackboard. I will give you a link as per normal. If you choose to do it in a different format, just let me know. Doesn't matter. Okay? And since today is the 23rd, so next week is the week before finals. So you've got a couple of weeks to finish this up. Okay? All right. Send me questions. Let me know how things are going. And keep on keeping on. That's the phrase.